track.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Common Podcast, where we speak upon common sense and realize it really isn't that common. Guys, we're finally back. I think it's been like a 2-week hiatus. There's been a lot of things going on in my personal life. For some of you that are following me in other social media platforms, y'all know we just had a baby boy, my wife and I. So we've been taking care of that. Also, we've been very focused on the new YouTube channel, which if y'all aren't subscribed there, make sure you all go check it out. It's the first link in the description. Roger Reacts. We're blowing up on there. We're trying to just grow exponentially on there. So if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and do that on there. Also, I want to shout out my TikTok. That's going to be in the description. Twitch, we are streaming right now live. So if you're curious, go check it out. And I think that's all. All the links are going to be in the description. I'm really trying to push all my socials out there, guys, because we're trying to get out there, you know. But anyways, today we have I just kind of want to update y'all on where I'm at and my really good friend here, where we're at in life, kind of like just at our age group. And I think it's going to be very good for y'all, the listeners, to reflect on it too, because I feel like a lot of the demographic of my viewers and listeners on the podcast are around the same age and might be going through the same thing. So I just thought it was important. And also I thought it would be great for y'all to catch up just with, you know, what's going on in my personal life. And yeah. Well, that being said, we got the host of my second podcast, which is the Outlier Podcast, Saul Guido. What's up, bro?
What's up, guys? Nice to be back on this beautiful show you have here.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Yours is doing pretty good too, right? The Outlier Podcast. There's been some very good consistency over there.
Yeah, well, in terms of numbers, it's not necessarily like huge or close to your numbers, but it's very consistent, which I'm very happy with. It's hitting the same numbers pretty much every episode, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, we haven't, well, me, because this is my podcast individually, but I haven't been on this platform for about 2 weeks now. And, I just kind of want to catch up. And I obviously talk to you on a daily basis, so you kind of know what's going on right now. But I'm at a point in my life where obviously I just became a father. That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a little bit about on your podcast about just how I didn't really explain too much into it, but you had asked me a question like, how do I feel as a new father? How has that moment changed me? And it's changed a little bit since I answered it on your podcast, so I want to address that before continuing. But I talked about this protective aspect that has engulfed me recently, about how like just there's been this burden of protection that has overcome me to try to protect my family. I told you about locking the side of my gates and stuff like that, just making sure that I've been a little bit more paranoid, like making sure my wife's okay, making sure the baby's okay and stuff like that. But there's been another aspect that I didn't address on your podcast that I want to get into, which is the career aspect of my life. You know this, that I'm in a point in my life where I feel like I have a sense of urgency to really figure out what I need to do with my life. And I feel like we all have that. It's all in the back burner of our head, but we don't really act on it. And this is a shame until it comes down to, you know, having to do it, which is sad, right?
Yeah.
Because if we all had that sense of urgency when we didn't need it, then we would all be set in a better position, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I was kind of talking to you about how you kind of have a fire under your ass now because if you have a kid, a family, you're married, you have a house, like it's go time for you, you know? And I was telling you that I feel like I need that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have that necessarily, so I procrastinate a lot because of that. Which is hard for me to be honest about, and I'm sure a lot of people aren't really honest with themselves, but it's something that I'm trying to get better at. But yeah, I mean, as far as being able to understand that, I think that's very important in order to move forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm very envious, not in a negative way. I know envy has like a bad condensation to it, but I'm very envious with people that have pretty much figured it out before their life really gets serious, before
Mm-hmm.
they get the house, before they get the marriage, before they get the baby and the family, because those people are like really set and they've been able to discipline themselves accordingly to set themselves up for a promising future. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, you and I have talked about this, that it's not too late. And I don't think it's ever too late. And I think that the people listening to this podcast, I think majority of the people listening to this podcast right now are probably in the position that you and I are in right now, where we feel like maybe we haven't done enough, maybe we haven't lived up to our potential, and we're in this like rut where we're trying to like figure life out, figure the career out. What do I need to do? And it's just not too late. That's probably like the most important message that I want to get across on this podcast is, I mean, you and I'm 26, you're 24, but pretty much everybody that listens to this podcast is around that age group, and it's not too late. Like, people are always gonna make up excuses, but at the end of the day, if you really want it, you can have it. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Like, it's all about making sacrifices. It's all about being disciplined. And I was reading today, and I was reading an old book that I really love, and it really like helped me clarify what I really need to do. And part of the book talks about how if you were to look at your day every single day and you actually organized your day and planned out your day and get rid of all the nonsense, you'd be better off if you did that every single day. And I reflected on that and I started to look at myself like, man, I do waste a lot of time on my day. Like, there's a lot of the stuff that I can just get rid of and instead apply to myself for the future or to better my future that will make me so much more productive. So I guess to conclude that message is it's not too late, but that means that you have to work deliberately every single day, right? Like, things are not just gonna fall on your lap.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the good news is that you're 26, I'm 24. We're both still very young. Like, we have lots of time, even though it doesn't feel like that, right? Like, you talked about you went into I think it was some type of training thing, right? And there was some guy there that was also there that was maybe 10 to 15 years older than you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And he himself still was trying to do what you're doing, right? Which
Yeah.
is like, people realize at different stages in their life what they want to do, and it's crazy to me that there's still people out there that don't know, which is completely fine, but just as long as you're looking forward to doing something more, I think that's you're in the right direction. But you actually sent me a study. I don't know if you remember this. You sent me a study that shows that
Mm-hmm.
over 20 million young adults move back with their parents.
Yeah.
um they're all from the age group of 18 to 31.
Yeah.
So to me, that's such a relief to know that there's so many other people that are dealing with the same exact thing. Um, because it's very easy for me to feel like I'm alone, right? Because I'm on social media and I see these 18-year-olds that are fucking making millions or whatever and have everything figured out, and I'm obviously way older than them, right? So it's kind of an illusion to me when I see these young successful people. Kind of feels like I'm the only one, right? That's
Okay.
like not achieving what I want. But in reality, it's not true. It's a lot of America, specifically. So,
Yeah, but do you think that
um,
that pays? You think that's a good thing, or do you think, because you're talking about it like if it's a good thing, but I see you as a person that can really overcome adversity. So like, basically that situation you're talking about right now is that you can relate to a lot of more other people. It's kind of alleviating the adversity. It's kind of like taking the weight off, because like, oh, well, I'm not the only one, right? So now that can affect people with different temperaments. There's some people that crumble under pressure, they crumble under adversity. But there's a lot of us out there that need adversity. And that's kind of like what we're talking about in the beginning, right? Like, I'm me, like right now, like I'm under some adversity, so I need to get my life in
mhm.
order. Um, I think that you're one of those people. I would like to think you're one of those people that really act when you're under the adversity. So to me, it's actually a disservice to you to actually figure out that other people can relate to your situation right now, because now you feel like, oh, well, I'm not as bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. I don't think that's the case though. I think it's just more of a stress reliever for me because regardless, I already talked to you about what I want to do and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's not really gonna change my mind or how hard I go and get it, but it is like it just doesn't make me feel like I'm alone, which is like the biggest part for me, right?
Yeah.
To know that there's other people out there that are struggling too, and I'm sure there's people listening to this podcast right now that are thinking the exact same thing, right? That were like, oh, I always thought I was the only one, but you're not. You know, you and I are both still figuring it out. You, on the other hand, you have like your house, like you have pretty much everything what which is needed for a family, right? Like you have everything you need right now for a
Mhm.
family, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's not necessarily about money. It's more about purpose and being able to set an example for your kids, right? That's
Yeah.
more of what it is for you than
Yeah.
rather than just the money, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, that is
So
correct.
that's a big factor in deciding on what you want to do. So there's a lot of things that people don't really consider, you
Yeah.
know, and that's one of the things I want to do, right? Is set an example for my kids because I don't want to just make money and not do something that doesn't serve me or anyone else, right? That's not really purposeful,
Yeah.
at least for me, right?
No, I 100%. I'm glad that you brought that up because I was planning on bringing it up later. But you and I have talked about how we work with coworkers that are very comfortable where they're at, and I mean that's fine for them, right?
Mm,
But we eventually want to get there. We want to get to a job where we're passionate about. Not only are we providing financial stability, but we're also happy, right? And then we have like credibility. And what I mean by that is, so when my son's growing up, I want to be able to tell him like, look, son, you can be really whatever you want to be as long as you work hard. But he's gonna look at me and he's gonna be like, oh really? Well then why didn't you do what you wanted to do? Right. So I,
mm,
I lose credibility there when I'm trying to tell him these things, but yeah, I didn't live up to it. Right. So that's kind of like where I'm at in life. I'm really trying to find where I fit and my purpose because I want to be able to tell my son, look, I was the example and you can do like it doesn't have to be what I am, right?
yeah,
But take my life as an example of what you can do with your life. Meaning like I'm 26 years old right now. I want to be able to go back. I want to be able to go in the future when he's like 18 years old and be like, look, when I was 26, I kind of like spoke it to existence. I was like, this is what I want it to be. And I was able to do it. So even if you do it right now when you're 18 or when you're 30, it doesn't matter. It's not too late, but you need to work diligently on it.
yeah, 100%. I agree. Um, even if you're working on it and you fail, you don't give up, right? Like I don't know if you want to talk about what happened with you, but
Yeah, I do.
you're going towards something that you wanted to do and it's not really working out.
Yeah.
Um, but I still think you have a chance. But I don't know if you want to elaborate on what happened.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about it in a broad spectrum first, and then we can kind of like narrow it down. But um, so in my life, I've been dealing with a lot of yeses. Like pretty much all the things that I've been wanting lately have been going my way. And I
Yeah,
was I was talking to my wife about it because there's like certain things where I was like, oh, I want to do this, and I got it. I want a son or I want a baby. I got it. I want a son, right? Like I would prefer a son over a daughter, right? Whichever came, which is fine, right? But
yeah,
I prefer a son. I got it. I wanted the house. I got it. You know, there was everything was going my way. There was a particular opportunity that came up in my life recently, very recently, actually, a couple of days ago, that would have pretty much altered the rest of my life, possibly. It was a career path that was very promising, and unfortunately it looks right now that that didn't live up to the expectations that I had, meaning, in lamest terms, I received a no, right? And during this whole process, because it is a long process of what I was going through, I told my wife, I was like, man, I'm really trying to prepare myself for a possible no because I've received so many yeses, so many blessings in my life recently that I don't know how I'm going to react to a no, to a hard no, because this opportunity could possibly be so great for my family that if I receive this no, I really hope that I don't crumble. And I really hope that I don't fall into like a depression or like feel less of myself and all these things. So I told her like I'm just really trying to like focus in on just not crumbling on adversity and being able to, because when you can't control the outcome, you have to control how you react to the outcome, right? That's how men
Yeah.
really. That's how. That's how good men are. That's how men are separated from the boys. It's like, how are you going to react to adversity? And that's where I'm at in life. And I feel like I've handled it very well. I know that, again, I'm 26 years old. It's not the end of the world. The finances are there. I have a healthy, loving family. You know, I have a great partner. There's going to be more opportunities there. And I just need to learn how to keep taking those opportunities. Because you and I have been talking off air about in pursuit of finding the right thing in your life, you have to find some of the things that are wrong. I'm not sure how I
Yeah.
worded it to you the first time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but basically it's all about trying. If you never try,
Hmm.
you're never going to find out. There's a lot of people that are scared to even give it a chance, right? It's because they're comfortable here. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're scared to take that leap because if it doesn't fall through, or if it falls through, then you're like, oh, well, where am I at? But you never know, right?
Yeah. I mean, exactly who you described. That's who I am, bro. Like, I'm someone that's super comfortable, doesn't really want to go outside of my shell, right? But I'm at the point now where I'm 24 and I feel the pressure of just getting older, right? Like, I need to get something going here. So I'm just gonna throw myself in there and see what happens, like regardless of how I feel about it or not. I know this is probably random, but I know you guys probably hate Andrew Tate, the people watching this, but he said something which was like one line that really spoke to me, which was, men, like, your men do what they don't want to do. Like, no man, like, think about it, right? Like, everything that a man has took work, and didn't necessarily want to do that work, right? If you want a good body, you don't always want to work out, right? But you still have to, and that's what men do, right? That's what you have to do. And so I kind of like put myself in that mindset and kind of realized that, like, everything you want, you have to work for it and be uncomfortable. Like, there's nothing ever going to be handed to you in a way where you're going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Everything comes with discomfort, challenges, and that's how you get opportunities, right? That's how you grow. That's how you become better, bigger, whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's me, right? I'm a super
Yeah.
super comfortable person, but I'm gonna throw myself in there and see what the fuck happens because I have to, man. I'm 24 years old. I don't want to be, no offense to my coworkers, right? But one of those people that are like fucking 35, still doing the same thing. Like, I can't be that person. I won't let it.
Yeah.
Even if I fail, right? Like you said, it's important to know that that's, you at least tried, and maybe it wasn't for you, whatever. The good news is that you have a whole life, right, to
Yeah.
figure it out.
And the good
So
news
keep trying
is
it
that
out.
you know that that thing was not your thing. Instead of not ever even knowing that that's not your thing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's better. It's better to have the regret of not succeeding at something than the regret of never even trying. Because
Oh yeah.
that regret of never even trying is gonna live on forever. Um, there was two sayings that my dad told me when I was a kid that really stuck with me, and it you kind of like brought it back into my head. And I was a kid when he told me this. He's like, nothing worth having comes easy. I mean, I know it
Mhm.
sounds very like, simple and
Cliche.
yeah, cliche, but like that stuck with me forever. And it is 100% true. Like you said, if you want to be physically fit, like obviously you need to work for that. You need to be disciplined in your diet, blah blah blah. If you want a good career, like you obviously need to be disciplined. You need to shoot out for it. You need the courage for it and things like that. The other one, the other quote is off topic, but he said, I always find it so funny because again, I was a little kid. He's like, "Sex is like money. Once you get it, you can never get enough." But that's facts too, you know. I was over here
He told
thinking,
you that?
yeah, he told me I was like
How
9 years
old are you?
old.
Oh,
I was like, "Dad, who got you in your soapbox? And you stop watching that Denzel Washington."
damn, that's funny. He told that to a 9-year-old. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You think that's true though?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like opening a can of worms.
It is like money in the sense of like, I don't know, right? Because I'm obviously not wealthy, right? But if you if you have so much of it, you kind of get like whatever. You kind of take it for granted, I guess, right? That's what Andrew Tate said. I keep saying Andrew Tate. I'm sorry. I
It's
He's
okay. The
been
people in
popping.
the chat are loving it.
he keeps popping up on my feed for some reason. Probably because I keep watching the videos or whatever. But he said life to him was the same after like I think 15 million. He has like
10,
300 million now or something.
15
Yeah.
million.
So he's like it's just stagnant after that. They're like there's not really a change. So I mean, you know, taking it from his word, it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just think this is an important message for people to hear. That first of
Yeah.
all, just kind of like what you said, that we can relate to them or they can relate to us. Maybe this is something
Mhm.
that they didn't have the courage to speak out to, like friends or anything like that. And maybe they can come on the podcast and listen to it and then, just have that comfort or gain that courage, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you guys or there's someone out there who's realizing that, man, that's me. I relate to what they said, and hopefully this conversation helps you, go for what you really want. Because even if you get it, you won't know if you truly wanted that unless you have it.
Mm,
So it's worth trying. It's worth taking a shot. Who cares if you fail? Who really cares? Like no one cares but you.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm excited for the future for sure.
me too,
I
bro.
know you are too.
Most definitely. I have a few people in the stream that join every once in a while that know me since my Dairy Queen days. For the listeners that don't know, I used to work for the fast food chain Dairy Queen for like 7.5 years. And talk about somebody who was comfortable
Hmm.
and didn't want to change. That was me for a very long time. And a lot of people had advised me like, "Oh, like why are you still here? Like, you should go for something more promising, a better career." And I was just like, "Well, I'm making decent money," which it was true. Me as a store director, I was making decent money, but it was that I was missing that purpose, and it took me a very long time to figure out this isn't me. And it took my mental health taking a huge decline in order for me to hop off of that and take that leap of faith. But I really wish that I could have taken that leap a long time before that, before I did.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone has a different breaking point, right? So
Hmm.
for you, it might have been 7 years or whatever, but for someone else, it could be 20 years. Like you're lucky it was quick. It could have been even worse. You could have still been there right now and been like, damn, I'm starting to get sick of this now. That's what I'm thankful for is that I'm finally sick of what the fuck I've been doing. So I need to figure something out. And failing is obviously on the table, and I'm fine with that. For the first time ever, I'm fine with failing.
Hmm.
I'm okay with it. I'm I'm at the point where I just need to do it, and that's it. I think everybody gets to that point too, which is important to note.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time that my dad almost made me quit Dairy Queen when I was in high school?
Yeah, I think you did. It was something about grades or something.
I was skipping school. I was skipping
Yeah.
school because well, I mean, I really didn't care about school at the time, and then I was making money, and I was living with my brother alone and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I'm skipping school, just going to work, doing whatever I wanted basically, and he almost made me quit, bro. And I look back at that moment, and at the time, working at that place was everything I had. It was like my identity, right? Because I got a paycheck out of it. I was actually good at something, and so I really didn't want them to take that away from me. But now looking back at it, man, I really wish he would have really enforced that. I really wish he would have made me quit that job.
Mm, nah, man.
I learned a
I think
lot.
everything has a purpose and a value. Whether you regret it or not. I think
Yeah,
you took a huge lesson away from that.
definitely.
Um, and I'm part of the reason it was probably hard for you is because your coworkers become part of your family because you're there
Hmm.
for most of your day.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could definitely see that, but I think your dad was just trying to do the right thing for you, which was I think it was a good thing, bro, because you learned to work hard and um understand what work meant at a very early age.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets a job in high school. Most people start after, right? So you got a head start in terms of working.
Yeah.
So I think that's valuable.
Yeah, definitely. I think the major thing that I got off of working at that restaurant is like basically the social skills, because at the age of 21, I think I had my own store. I was a GM, and I was very young in comparison to a lot of people that were working there at the time, and I really had to learn how to communicate. I needed to learn how to like be witty when I needed to be witty, and then be generous when I needed to be generous, and empathetic, and all these things. I had to learn how to grow and socialize with people. So I guess to your point, I see that, but I think a greater lesson that I got out of that whole situation was learning how to leave that or disconnect from something and then taking that leap.
Yeah, I think that socializing part is super valuable. I think you're underappreciating that because if you think about it, in that time of your life, you were a very introverted person that only liked to play video games. So I think that socializing part was like super balancing for you and very beneficial.
Yeah,
I
man.
think you're definitely underlooking that because if you didn't have that, who would you interact with? Just people online, which is not healthy. You know,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Hold on. The chat wants me to show off the banana split trophy.
What was that for? Was that for
This was my first year as an assistant manager. I was like 18 or something like that, 18 or 19. I got a $500 check and I got this trophy right here. See what's inside. Don't forget the Dairy Queen pin.
it won't focus. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a lot of great moments. I built a lot of great relationships, and at the end of the day, I mean, my wife and I kind of reconnected there. So I guess.
I think one thing you and I both established is that you can never go back,
Oh
right?
yes. Oh
That's how I feel about everything I do. Is like I can't go back. I can't go because I can't take a step backwards, even though it might be better pay or whatever situation I'm in. Doesn't matter.
yeah.
You can't go backwards. You have to look for something new and better always.
Why I had an opportunity to go back to that industry, not the same chain, but that same industry, and I really had to take a hard look at myself. I'm like, look, it's probably better than where I'm at, but I cannot take a step back. That's doing a disservice to me, and everything that I've kind of worked for is going to be lost if I'm backtracking. So I definitely agree with that, man.
And you figured out it wasn't for you.
Yep.
So keep it moving. That's it. Regardless of the opportunity, like you got to do what's best for you at the end of the day because you said yourself it took a huge toll on you on your mental health. So going back to that is definitely a step backwards, if not two. It's a huge step backwards. So
Yeah, definitely. But I hope to have somewhat of like a foreseeing experience looking back on this podcast, looking back hindsight and actually being somewhere where I feel like my purpose is met. And then looking back at this conversation
Yeah.
with, my best friend here and actually saying, man, we came a long way and I figured it out. That's what I'm hoping for.
yeah, well, the good news is that this podcast is kind of at the end of the year. So a year from now, we could rewatch this and see where we're at, what we felt, and then what we're up to now. And who knows, maybe you and I don't even talk anymore by then. You have a son, bro. Things
Yeah.
things get complicated. People grow, and both of the careers that you and I want most likely require moving and
Yeah.
going different places. So a lot of changes coming soon. Excited.
For sure. And hopefully I make it big here on YouTube, right? If everybody subscribes, likes, and comments, and then I can just stay at home and make content for a living. Everybody goes subscribes to the Roger Reacts and goes to the Twitch channel and the Patreon and the TikTok
And the Outlier podcast.
and the Outlier podcast. Hopefully everybody does that. That way you and I can just do this for a living. Imagine that. That'd be the dream, right?
That'd be badass.
Yeah.
What the fat ass.
With all that being said, man, we're about 30 minutes in. Nice, quick, wrap it up. That's all I really wanted to do for today is just kind of give people an update. So y'all can go find Saul's podcast on the Outlier podcast. Also go find him on Instagram It's the same thing, right? The Outlier Podcast
Yeah.
on Instagram. Go check him out there. We have some really fun things going on his podcast, guys. Go check it out. Go leave down in the comments section below. We have a lot of like intriguing questions throughout the podcast for y'all to answer. So go ahead and go do that. We have like a Would You Rather segment that we do over there. So go check him out. His link is always in the description. And with all that being said, you got anything else?
No, that's it, bro.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all for sticking around. I know it's been 2 weeks, but we'll be back next week. Peace.
Peace. Later.
On the track.